Hello, guys and girls. Chokester here, bringing you another episode of FTB Unstable. So we've got a good episode in store for you today. First of all, I want to show you off the Void Ore miner and what it's produced. So look at that. This is just crazy. Crazy stacks and stacks. Look at all these diamonds. I mean, we put that cyan lens in there so that it got diamond ore, and yeah, it produced. Not as many emeralds though, but I'm okay with that. Again, we don't need that many, but I mean, we're getting everything in here: redstone and coal and lapis and so on. So lots of great stuff. If we want to get into deep resonance, we now have tons of this to produce, crystals over and over again. So good stuff. Even some apatite for forestry. So lots of great stuff. Even these nether ores here, right? I mean, that's really cool stuff. So I can make maniyulin. I can continue with my nether quartz. Now it's not gonna come flooding in unless I change my lens color, but it's not bad. 3.5 stacks of quartz is pretty decent. So that's pretty cool. The other thing is that in case you guys didn't realize, the dimensional transceiver actually has a filter built into it. So if you go to this tab right here, it has this filter. And so I set all this up and I was letting it actually produce a bit more than what was already in here because I had set this up and was letting it process ores for a while. So what I did was I said, all right, everything gets sent except for a few of these. The diamond ore, I can get 1 to 1.25 of them per ore if I use an automated method. But if I use my pickaxe, I'm getting roughly around, for a stack of 10, I'm getting about 10 diamond ores. I'm getting around 23 diamonds from it. So that's 2.3%, that's 230% or 2.3x times as much instead of the 1.25% with the alloy smelter. Or sorry, sag mill alloys. Sag mill, I think only. Yeah. Anyway, and these can't be processed except for in the smelter over here. Same thing with the emerald ore and ardite. So I mean, you can do this elsewhere, but I want to try to use fortune on it. And these Light shard, they strictly just make blocks. But anyway, I filtered those out. I don't have this active right now. I've got this turned off for right now. But I just wanted to show you how much has filled up in the last, probably 10 hours that the server's been running. So really cool stuff. The other thing I wanted to mention is that down here, my cursed earth has stopped working. So I've suspected this for a while. You can see there's a witch in there. Right? That's it. That's all that's spawning in there. No other mobs. Now, I had set up another one over here, and I know you can't see in there. Heck, I can barely even see in there. There's a few things in there, so I don't know if they're spawning every once in a while, but there's no mobs in there either. So really, it's just my witches that are doing it. Now, I looked on the GitHub page. One guy said that they're despawning when you get 128 blocks away or 132 blocks, whatever the default Minecraft is. But I'm not having that. It might be when I log out and they just don't ever come back. But yeah, beware of that. R.W. Tema, who writes Extra Utilities too, he doesn't seem to be working through his issues list very quickly. So I don't know if he's busy in real life or working on some other mod. But just beware of that. Those witches are what's sustaining me for right now. I did change this to have a whole row here. So I just changed that to 8. Nothing big there. I put in obsidian pressure plates here. So now mobs, when they walk over this, they can't actually open it. So now I can have on both sides. So I don't necessarily like the look of it with this polished andesite, but it works fine. The other big change is this right here. You notice all the capacitors are gone, and I have placed them. Oh, and then I put them up here, and I also did some glass, and you can see it's perfectly flush with these half slabs here, and that's because I used chisel and bits. So I got the chisels and bits chisel from it, and then I had to use. So I tried different glasses, and I had to use chisel glass. And then I could chisels and bits it. How's that? So let's go up and take a look. So you'll see now that I have a lot of capacitors in here. So I've crafted a whole bunch of these. Now that I have tons of resources, it's very easy to do. And so I made just kind of this whole big chunk. And you can see I have 400 million in here. You know, each one is 25,000. So that turns out to be what, 16 of these guys here. So 16 of these capacitor banks. And what I found is that, of course, this is a solar panel. So at night, there's no power coming in. And this guy over here is using 30,000 RF per tick. So it slowly drains. Well, I found that right at that 400 million is what gives me the ability to survive through the night. So at right, you know, when it goes dark, things start going down, and you know, percentage drops, the amount of RF in there drops, and I stood here and watched this, and it got down and it was running real close, and I watched it was, you know, getting to 6 o'clock in the morning, and just as I hit zero, literally I counted to 2, and the RF started going back up. So that's pretty much the bare minimum that I need for this base, running a bit of processing. You see that, you know, things are coming in slowly from here, you know, and getting processed over here, and nothing being processed from there. So in theory, if I turn this off and open the floodgates on that guy, there's going to be probably a bit of time when I don't have any power in my base during the wee hours of the morning right before the sun comes up. So yeah, so that's about it. The only other thing I did was I opened up a little place right here for our next project, what we're going to be doing today. So let's get into that. Let's do 2 stacks of this and 2 stacks of this, because I am going to be working on refined storage. This is a really cool mod. If you guys haven't seen it, think Applied Energistics 1. Now, I never played with Applied Energistics 1. I've only been into Minecraft for 4 months now, so maybe 5 months by now. But so my first foray was into 1.8.9, and of course I played a lot of 1.7.10 mod packs, because that's pretty much all the modded Minecraft there was available. But people tell me refined storage is just like AE1. I think it's very similar to AE2 as well, just not quite as many tweaks, features, and coolness that comes with AE2. Either way, it's a really neat mod pack, and really great. It's been a long time coming. As you can see, my wall of storage drawers is growing and growing, and now I've got some new things in here. I've added glass and gunpowder, and you know, the silicon, and I was just tired of disposing of all these oak wood because I had just had so many, and I've got so many here. So we're ready to move on. This is a long time coming, so let's get started with this. The first thing we're going to need to do is create a controller, and it needs these enriched irons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make multiple stacks of this. All right. So let me grab, well, you know what? That's probably enough for right now. So we're also going to need some silicon and this machine casing, which of course is a lot of this enriched iron. We're going to need a lot of it. So let me grab a few of these guys and let's start getting crafting. And this, I think we're going to need a few of these. So we'll pull out 3 of these guys for right now. And there's our controller. The controller needs power. Then we're also going to need a grid in order to access it. But we also want the crafting grid, which is an upgrade to the regular grid. The crafting grid will allow us to craft within it. And then later on we'll get to pattern grid and so on. So the next thing we're going to need is this grid. But we're going to need these guys, which is like, oh yeah, what's this? Oh, we need a solderer. So we go look at the solderer, and that's pretty trivial. That's just needs sticky pistons and some more of this stuff. So let's grab, you know what? I'm going to use them all. So I'm going to grab all 4 of them. And we're eventually going to need to get into these to store the items. We're going to need these, but they aren't too bad when you start getting into the 1K, right? And then you can craft the actual disc itself. So we could start out pretty quickly with that. But as soon as you get up to like the 4K, it's going to need these guys. So that's why we created this solderer already. So what we need to do is we need to grab, let's say, a stack of this, a stack of this. We'll grab a stack of diamonds, and we already have a stack of silicon. Actually, we'll do probably, let's do 3 stacks. Let's do that. All right, so let's head downstairs. Now let's put our controller down. That's the first thing we're going to need. And so we put that in. It gets power. You can see it filling up. And cool. That's the first step. Next thing we're going to need is the solderers. So as long as they're connected next to it, then they are part of the network. And you'll see in here everything that's connected to the network. And you can scroll down when there's more. And that'll show your whole network. The other way you can extend your network is by using these cables. And so you can have remote areas that are connected via cables, but they all have to be touching. So the reason I like to do this is I like to put these guys in here, and we should see we now have 3 of them. And I'm just going to put all 4 of these in here because we want to get these things processing. So first one I want to do is iron. It's taking power from the controller, and it'll start producing these printed basic processors. I'm just going to do a whole stack of all of these guys, and it must go in the middle slot. It cannot go in either of these other slots. It has to go in the middle slot. All right, so let's do this. And then we're also going to end up doing a couple of stacks of these, because the next tier of these, which is, these guys right here. So these are the first step, and you can see the recipe is just iron. And then the next step would then be to take that guy that we just made with some redstone and the printed silicon, which is this guy with the silicon that we're doing, and it will then create a basic processor. That's what we need to use. Same thing with improved processor and advanced processor. So I'm going to make sure all these guys are working perfectly. Interesting fact, early on, so there's 2 different recipes for this. You can see this refined silicon storage, and you had to smelt nether quartz. Early on, when I started playing with this mod, it was not ore dictionary to the Ender IO silicon, which its recipe is far simpler. You can either take clay, which we have tons of in this pack, or you can take sand and in the sag mill, and that turns into silicon. It was not ore dictionary, and I had to just burn through a ton of this nether quartz. So we're good now. It's ore dictionary, and we can actually use the easier to get silicon instead of wasting our somewhat precious quartz. Okay, let me get all this ready. The next step is, now that I've got a stack of each of these created, remember iron, gold, diamond, we combine them with redstone, and I crafted all 3 stacks of these silicones, and we want to put these in here. So we'll put that in now. This actually shift clicks just fine, and that will create the next tier of those. And that's pretty much all we have to do. And you'll see here in a second, we're going to get into speed upgrades once we get some of these. The speed upgrades actually make this go much faster. And if we look at the recipe, it's just some sugar with one of these guys, and that is just an improved processor, our gold, with a little bit of any glass and some of this quartz enriched iron. So that's producing our basic processors there. We've got our improved processors, and we've got our advanced processors. Okay, let me let these stacks finish up, and we'll get to work. I now have a stack of each of the basic, improved, and advanced processors. I'm also cooking up another stack of this basic processor, the one with iron, because I know we're going to need it in the future. So now we can actually create things like our grid. It does have 2 of these other weird ones here, the destruction core. And it's just a little bit of quartz and one of these basic processors. And the other one, the wrong button, is the construction core, which has glowstone. So let me grab a little bit of that. And just in case we don't have enough, grab that. All right, so let's make one of our grids. We'll need one of these. And we will need one of these. All right, now we should have everything to make this. All right, so then in order to get the crafting grid, which is of course what we want, we need to put that with one of these advanced processors and a standard crafting table. So let me grab one of those. We've got one of these, all good. And the other thing I'm going to want now is to, well, let's go throw that in. Put that guy in, and let's see, grid was in the middle, this was in the bottom, and then one of these guys was up there. Yep. All right, so that's going to be working. And then we're going to now need to make some place to store this. So if we look at the recipe for this, this is pretty standard. It's just a bunch of glass silicone. The 4K then uses 3 of those. The 16K uses 3 of the 4Ks, which is also 3 of the each one of those. So that's 9 total of those guys, 3 of these, and that gets you 1 16K. That's usually where I stop. Now you can also go up to the 64K, which is pretty much the same thing. It's just 3 16s, and it exponentially compounds all the things you need. So let's start with the 3K for right now. And so let's make 3 of those guys, and then we go to the 4K. And we can make 1 of those, yep. And then in order to get the actual disk is we would need, what do we make, 4K here. And so we'd make this guy here, which uses the 4K we just made. And we now have a disk, but we have nowhere to put it yet. So we're going to need somewhere to put it. Now we can either put it in there's a drive here. I mean, not a drive, a chest, basically, that is one, yeah, right here. These blocks, okay? So that's all it does is it just stores 1K or 4K worth of units. They're just a block and that's all they do. And you can do that multiple times. But we're going to go for the disk drive because the disk drive, we can have multiple ones of these in here. So we're going to need a machine casing, advanced, and a chest. So let's grab those. So I don't know if it'll work with this, but let's try. Because I kind of want to get rid of these guys. I forgot to hit the button to make normal ones. And then that and my machine grid, my machine casing. So let's go downstairs. We just so happen to have multiple ones of these. Good. So I think it was this. Let's try this guy. And I think it was one of those. Yes. Seems to be right. Let's just confirm. Yeah, it's exactly. And it did work with that spruce chest, which is good. I can try to get rid of those as often as possible. So let's put down the crafting grid. I want to put that guy maybe right here. I also, I'll end up right here. It'll be right in front of my crafting grid. That's kind of why I put that here. So, looks cool. Now, we can't store any items in here. If we go in here, we can see now we have 1 crafting grid and 4 solderers. I'm kind of done with the solderers right now. We'll probably just stick to having 1 of them in the future, maybe 2, but that's, not necessary. Now, we can go anywhere we want. We can go around the side. For right now, I'm just going to put it right here. As long as it's touching, it'll show up in here. And then we can put our drive in here. And there we go. Now we have 4,000 and we can start putting stuff in there. How cool is that? Ta-chink. All right. Very, very happy. And so these guys are done. I can toss these guys in here. Now we've got a lot of items up here. And there's 2 ways we can handle this. One is we can import all of these items into the network. And that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to import all these, but we're going to need a lot of space for that. And that's okay, because we can go all the way up to 64K disks times, I think there were 8 of them in there. That's one way, is to import them all in. So I can package these guys up with packing tape and take them down there and put an importer on there and import them all in. The other way to do it is to connect this with a cable all the way over here into the controller and use let's see, it's the external storage here. And it's not too bad, use a couple of chests and some of these guys we've already made. And it allows whatever is connected through this whole thing to be showing up inside of here without actually using up any of the space. And so that's kind of a cool thing to do. Now, it's leveraging all that storage we already have there, and we might do that in the short term. Of course, it's going to require running. It's roughly about right here is where the, so if we look here, it's roughly right in here. So we have to run cables all the way over here and over here, or maybe we go this way and come all the way over here. And so that's an option, right? There's no wireless way we can do that. We'd have to run cables all the way over. Or I can run the cable once, have an importer, and just slowly import all this stuff. And then, of course, this whole line over here goes under the ground, comes in all over here, and all this ore processing and stuff that we've been doing all pulls into these guys. We then just redirect it and have it pull in there. So I don't know what we're going to do yet. We're still kind of debating about that. So in the meantime, I need to make some more discs, and I want to load this guy up with some heavy duty stuff. I might even go all the way up to the 64K. Yeah, the 64K guy. So let me get cracking on that, and I'll be right back. A few minutes later, I now have three 64K storage disks. Those go very quick, but you can see they use up a lot of resources. Just a few of these advanced processors, not too bad, but over half a stack of the improved and 1 3/4 stacks of the basic processors. Remember, I had 2 stacks of these guys. So they now give us 64K. I can throw them in here along with our 4K. And so now we have 96,000 items we can store in there. So if I wanted to, I could actually empty this out, right? These are stored in that 1K, pull this out, and it would just be using these guys, right? So that's one way to do it. Or the other way is, let me show you another way of, well, not really another way, but if I put that in there and I take this out, it's contained in there. You see there's 14 items in there. So you can take this and move it around and put it somewhere else if you really wanted to. So they don't worry about losing your items if you were to, take this out, and you can always put it back in. Okay, so that's a really, really good start. So now we can load this guy up with stuff, and great. All right, so the other thing I can do is we can start getting into auto crafting with like the pattern grid, and we can see what's actually crafting. I don't think I want to do that yet with the crafter and stuff. I need to get items in here. And you can also do the offline processing pattern encoder. When we get into that, you'll see the benefits of when to use that and when not to. So in the meantime, what I think I want to do is I've got tons of space. I want to craft a whole bunch of these cables, which is pretty simple. This quartz enriched iron. Now, I am actually running really low. I now only have 28 of those. Remember the multiple stacks I made of that? So we're going to have to make even more. So heavy iron, heavy quartz amount, and that's why I went to the nether and had grabbed a whole bunch of, oh, that's not what I want to do. Whole bunch of this quartz, and you can see I have 2057 still left. So we're doing okay on quartz, but it does run through a lot of that. So let me craft that up, get the cables run underground, and I think I'm going to import all of this stuff, and we'll be able to maybe free that up. You know what? No, I changed my mind. I'm going to run the cable. I'm going to use this as external storage for right now, and then I'll show you how that works, and then we can easily switch that over to an importer and pull it all in. So I'll be right back after all that's done. Okay guys, I just ran a really long connection, and you can see in here, if I were to, I just switched it around, I didn't want that, 3, 4, hopefully that's, all right, so if we look in here, I have a 50x cable run. So I ran it all the way around here, and all the way up here, and that's where my compacting drawer is. So get up here. So you can see it's right there. So I've made an external storage, and if I put this down, it's going to face the wrong way because of the way I was facing, but I can rotate it with a Yellow wrench. So if we just highlight this, let's see, let's try to get in here. Yeah, that guy, and it rotates it up. And so now that's connecting into the drawer controller. So if we go take a look down here, we now see that I've got all my stuff in my drawers. There we go. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that if you look at something like gold, or let's do diamonds, right? I have 864 diamonds, plus it shows me that I have 96 blocks of diamonds, but that's incorrect. There's either one or the other. That's just the downside of using those compacting drawers. Same thing with ingots. So if I look at something like gold, there's all 3 of these. I only have either 52,000 nuggets or 5,800 gold ingots or 646 gold blocks. It's not all 3 of those. So don't be confused by that. Okay, so yeah, so there we go. Now I should see that I have an external storage on there. The other thing I want to do is we got these chests here, all right? I am really close to using everything, except for there's some things in here that I won't have access to down there, like the Valbrine alloys and the energetic alloy. So I want to suck those guys in. So I've already removed that right there. And so I want to make the importer. And so the importer will require a couple of these. Let's create one of those. And this guy should be good. should have everything. I also made a few extra cables since I just ran out all of those. So I'm going to drop down here. All right, and I should be able to, let me run some cables, just a quick cable run up here. Now I also want to mention that, let's see, right here. I also want to mention that the more infrastructure you have, that's cables and everything, then the more it will use power. So we're not in a bad position right now, but so in theory, let me get back up here. All right, so we should, in theory, start seeing things. Yep, there we go. So now we're sucking that stuff into the network. Okay, now I can speed that up by adding some of these speed upgrades. We can also do a stack upgrade. So I don't know if I can actually get there. Let's see if we can. Yeah, so we've got 4 slots. So what I want to do is I want to make 3 of these speed upgrades, and that is just an improved processor, bunch of glass. Let's see if we can do that before all that stuff leaves. Let's see, speed upgrades, where are they? There we go. That, and I need 2, they don't stack, 2, 3 of those. And you know what? I'm probably going to need a bunch more. So let's just grab a whole bunch more. Let's see, and that should be enough. All right, cool. Now let's go back here to speed. I'm going to need my, I'm going to have to put this in a solderer. Did I already? No, I haven't done that yet. So let's grab this and we'll create that. We'll throw that in one of these guys. That goes there. We'll put that like that. And then as soon as we get one of these speed upgrades, we can pop it in here right away. And that's why I just kind of counted out 3 stacks of 4. We know that the one of them would, when we use a stack upgrade. So we put that in there, put this in here, and that goes notably faster. But we're going to need 3 of them for our exporter because we want to do stack upgrades. So let's put that in. That'll speed all of this up much quicker. And I'm going to want to leave 4 of them in here anyway. This is going to be my primary one. It looks like those don't stack, which we probably knew. All right, and there's that. Now I can use that. That's much better. Shift click these in. Just grab, so I now have 3 of these guys. Cool. And what does it take to do the stack upgrade? I think it's going to be crafting, stack. There it is. I need 4 more plus sugar. Okay, so let's do 4 more. Or I can just grab these guys too, if I really wanted to, but I kind of want to leave those guys in there. And the 4th one. Okay, and I'm going to need these guys back because I need to craft a not crafting upgrade, stack upgrade with this one. That's right. This is one of those that it doesn't pull from your inventory, which is one of the couple of downsides. So I'll go ahead and throw those in, and I think I need that. There we go. And stack upgrade. There we go. We've got that. Let's go pop that in. So we're slowly moving along. Let me just show you what it looks like when you throw the speed upgrades in there. So yeah, notably faster. Not too bad, but it's still going to take a while to crank through these chests. So let me get in there. We throw the stack upgrade in there. Now it does a stack at a time. How cool is that? Look at that. Everything's getting sucked in. Okay, cool. Let me gather the stuff for the next thing. I'm cooking up some more of these basic processors, so I got to wait for those to finish. I'll be right back. Just finishing up the last of these here. See if I can get that. There we go. That should be sucking all that stuff in. Okay, so let's head down, and the last thing I want to do is I want to create a wireless transmitter. Probably going to need another machine casing, and we should have everything for that. And then I want to do a wireless grid. Okay. Now, the way this works is I'm going to put it back in here. We'll just throw it back here on one of these cables. How about right there? Excellent. Now, we have to bind this. So if you look at this wireless grid, it's already charged up for my wireless charging. It doesn't work. I'm right-clicking. It doesn't work. So what we have to do is we have to shift right-click on the controller. And now gives us access to all of our stuff. So I can pull out a speed upgrade and so on, or I can put it back in, as long as I'm within range. So if we go back in here and look, the range is 16 blocks, and they do make range upgrades here, and they're not too bad, right? We've already seen how to make these guys, and so just a couple of ender pearls and you get range upgrades, and you can upgrade that. So let's make a couple of those. Let's see, we just need a few of these. Let's make 4 of them for right now. That should be enough to get us mostly around our base. And then the other thing was ender pearls. Ender pearls, let's grab, oh, I don't know, half a stack for right now. Really, we don't need that many. Yeah, we need 8. All right, and they go into solder. That's the next round of those are cooked up. And I've also gotten upgrades for these guys here as well. I haven't done that one yet. So, because I'm probably not going to keep all these solderers here now that we've done most of the bulk of the crafting. Okay, so now we can see we have 48 blocks. We can extend that by adding more wireless transmitters, but now if we were to go outside here, and land it on there, so we can get, you know, our wireless grid from over here. I mean, pretty much the furthest I'm going to go. It seems to work just fine. How about over here in case we're here? Nope, not quite. Right there. So not too bad. So pretty much so far, I'm real compact in my 3x3 range right here, and kind of on purpose, right? I mean, I can always add more of these chunk loaders here, but ultimately I've got good coverage, decent coverage, without having to do anything else. So in just a few moments, well, you know, a little bit of offline stuff, I have converted over to using that. Now, granted, none of this stuff is in there. Let's go take a look real quick at my storage utilization. Look at this, 2% full after everything's already been imported into the system. So that's really cool. I really like the 64K, and it's just barely using anything. So I should be able to import all this other stuff in there. In theory, we might have to add even more of those 64K. And the cool thing, though, is if I run out of space in here and I fill all these guys up, I can just add another the disk drives and more storage space, and I can just keep growing and growing and growing. Downside, which isn't a big one, is that it will use more what he's calling refined storage per tick, which is really just RF per tick. So that's using 170 RF per tick. And remember, we had that this was our only power for the base, and so that's all that was if that was all that was generating, it wouldn't be enough power for just that alone. That's really because of the long cable run, these extra things. So don't want to be doing that. This hitboxes on here are weird too. So I can take this down, and in theory that will be a little bit less power. But realize that wireless also takes up some. Yeah, see, there we went down from 170 down to 151 RF per tick. So yeah, so anyway, that's about it, guys. I want to thank you very much for all your help and suggestions, comments. If you liked the series, subscribe and give a like on this video. It really helps out with YouTube search results. And with that, I bid you adieu. Take it easy.